Shudder Sundays, episode 32. We are in our halfway to Halloween month, and we are missing one episode. We took a little break last week, but we are back at it. We moved the schedule around and adjusted some movies because originally we had H2O on there, which I either mistakenly thought was on Shudder or it got removed from Shudder.
I think it was on Shudder.
Okay, I really thought it was too,
sure.
but we pivoted and we are sticking with Michael Myers, and this time we are going into Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer.
He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
Now, Michael Myers has come home. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Maybe nobody knows how to stop him.
Now, if you aren't familiar, Shudder is a all-horror streaming app. You can find a whole bunch of horror movies on there, both new and old. And I think it starts at $7.99 a month. I should know by now, but yeah. So if you're curious what Shudder Sundays are, they are just movies we find on Shudder. So this week, Slasher. Back to the old school slasher vibes. This is kind of my jam here.
Yes.
This was released October 21st, 1988, 10 years after the original, and that plays into the movie itself. This is directed by Dwight H. Little. This was his fourth movie. Other than that, he's done a bunch of different little TV episodes. No movies that I particularly remember, but he did do Bloodstone and Murder at 1600. But again, nothing I have seen myself. This is starring Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, who needs no introduction. This was introducing Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, named after Jamie Lee Curtis. Yes. A little homage there for her. And she was also, other than 4, she was also in 5. I believe they killed her off quickly in 6. And then that whole second trilogy or middle trilogy always gets with me. But she was also in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Huh.
A little bit. Also up there in her IMDb pedigree. And it was also rounding out the cast starring Ellie Cornell as Rachel Carruthers, who was in House of the Dead. But want to give a quick little rundown on Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers?
I would love to. 10 years after the massacre on Halloween night in Haddonfield, Michael Myers is back for vengeance. While being transported to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, he awakens from his comatose state to hear the paramedics talking about his surviving niece, Jamie. After slaughtering his attendants, Michael sets out to find his last living relative and annihilate his family tree for good.
Yeah. This was really the kickstart of what people refer to as the Thorn trilogy. Mm-hmm. Not the biggest fan of the Thorn trilogy route. 4 was great. 5 and 6 got a little bit too much into that, and thankfully we're not really talking about that in full, but not my favorite aspect of the Halloween franchise. The Shudder Skull rating for Halloween 4. Want to take a stab at it?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's a 4 skulls out of 5.
4 for Halloween 4. You are correct. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Not as bad as you would suspect, I don't think. Bad, but not as bad, I think, but we'll see. So, critic score. What do you think the critic score is for on Rotten Tomatoes?
So when I was taking some notes, I did see one of the Rotten Tomatoes score, but like previous times, I don't look to see if it's the critics or the audience, so I'm going to go with the one that I saw first so I can guess the second time around. I'm going to say the critic score was the one I saw, which is a 39%.
That is the critic score.
Okay.
So the audience score, do you think it was better or worse than the critics?
I'd say a little bit better, but not by much. Maybe in the 40s, 50s? 50s, okay. Maybe 53?
54%. 54%.
I'm usually pretty close on them.
Now, before we kind of talk about this movie a little bit, obviously we talk all spoilers, so if you somehow have not seen Halloween 4, if you skipped 4 and you've watched everything else, maybe give this one a watch, but we are going to discuss complete spoilers. Originally, this was supposed to be Deborah Hill and John Carpenter back again. But they wanted to kind of take a different approach, I think more in the supernatural realm.
Yeah.
And Mustafa Akkad, the producer, wanted to get back to basics. Pretty much he just wants to do Halloween again.
Fair.
There was conflict on the previous movies with them as well. Mustafa Akkad kind of forcing the hand of Carpenter, especially coming back to Halloween 2. Carpenter doesn't do sequels. He didn't really want to do the sequel, but got roped into it. But this was the movie that kind of forced the hand of Carpenter and Deborah Hill. They sold their stake in the Halloween franchise, and Akkad just got to do what he wanted to do. I think instead of talking scene by scene and kind of breaking this movie down, I broke it into like little topics that I wanted to talk about. One being the beginning.
Okay.
The credits were on this really cool like farmland, like old school Halloween, has that Halloween vibes, and we just never went back there. It was just not a part of the setting in the movie at all. I was,
Maybe they just thought it's a nice intro scene.
It
like
is,
sequence,
it fits the vibe. It hits that Halloween mood and that October feel. But I was disappointed that we didn't really return there ever again. But there's two people picking up Michael to bring him back to Smith's Grove, which he escaped from. So why are we bringing him back?
I was going to say, so he left Smith's Grove, went to this new place, now he's going back there after he already got out once.
Yep. But I'm assuming they work at the psych ward as well.
I think that, yeah.
And they heard, like, one person scream, and he's like, oh, Jesus! Like, you work at this kind of place. You're dealing with Michael Myers, and a off-screen scream is jolting you. That was, pick that nit a little bit. The guy, again, a lot of these in the credits are like guy 1, guy 2, whatever, but one of the guys that was talking about Dr. Loomis when they were to transfer, he's like, wow, I hope when we transfer him, Dr. Loomis either transfers, retires, or dies. It's like, why do you hate Dr. Loomis so much?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into Loomis, that's another discussion point, but like, you hope he dies?
And apparently no one told Dr. Loomis that he was even picking him up.
He's like, well, if Loomis read the memo, I don't think he ever sent the memo.
No.
I think he was just trying to avoid Loomis. If he wants him to die,
He's like, here you go.
I'm assuming he never even sent him a memo. And then Mikey's on the move. The music is bumping, and we're off. And that's how it goes.
And
that's how it starts.
That's how it starts.
So let's talk about Dr. Loomis a little bit. Because, God, I love Donald Pleasance. I love Loomis.
I do too. He's fucking hilarious.
But he is just such a caricature. Like,
he's so over the top. He stresses me out sometimes.
I mean, let's look at the facts, though. He's definitely not a good doctor. He's made zero progress with Michael Myers in 10 years.
Clearly not.
How is he still his doctor? He shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times. And you set him on fire, and you're still his doctor?
And he got caught in the fire, too, because he had that pretty sick scar on his face.
Somehow he survived that. That's a whole nother thing.
They both did.
Yeah, I mean, like, Michael, I get.
Right.
Dr. Loomis is not surviving that explosion.
No.
But they needed him back. He needed a paycheck. They said, let's do this. Yeah, I put not dead, question mark. Nah, just give him a limp and a scar and just make note of it. Look what he did to me. Like,
they had to put an emphasis on that,
like,
too.
Apparently in these slasher movies, it's not just the slashers that can be undying. Dr. Loomis, there's just seemingly nothing that can take him out in this movie. A couple bottles of wine, but I thought it was very interesting. He must be so in sync with Mikey that when he was going to Haddonfield, they both stopped at the same gas station.
I thought that was funny, too. Under my impression when I was watching, I was like, he knows Mikey too well. He's like, abandoned gas station, got to find something. He's like, perfect spot for him.
He was like just looking for gas, though. He wasn't even looking for him, and he just stumbles across bandaged up Mikey.
Which bandaged Mikey was, I thought, kind of fun to see him without the mask for a little bit. I was like, it's different.
It reminded me sort of the Friday the 13th Part 2 where he has the bag head instead of the mask. I mean, he didn't get the mask yet, but, that's just another discussion. There is, and we saw it in the movie before we got to this whole gas station scene, but since we're talking about Loomis, I want to talk about it a little bit because it sort of plays into it. The whole aspect of, like, Mikey being the nightmare man, and kind of Danielle Harris sees him in nightmares. It threw me off for a little bit because I was like, oh, he's there. And then he's like, oh, he's not. And then in this bar scene, which why is there 10 pictures of Abraham Lincoln in this gas station bar?
That was so funny.
Donald Pleasance obviously runs into Mikey and he's like, just take me, take me.
Want another victim, take me. But leave those people in peace. God damn you.
If you want another victim, take me. Leave the girl alone.
Gives him a second. He's like, God damn you. And he shoots him. And it cuts from Michael there to him shooting Michael gone. Didn't even show him making an exit. So at that point, I was like...
He's the shape. He's that fast.
But at that point, I was like, wait, was Mike actually there?
Okay.
Because, like, we just kind of learned he was not a ghost, but, like, a premonition. So I first was like, oh, wait, he's not there. I mean, he is there because he ends up stealing the truck and blowing up Dr. Loomis's car and just driving away. Fuck you, Loomis!
Probably one of the funniest scenes in this whole entire movie. Instead of trying to kill the guy, he's like, you know what? Sorry, buddy, your car's out of here. You ain't catching me now.
Fucking see you later, fucker.
Good luck finding a ride with that limp.
Yeah, and trying to find the... Like, he's so good at... He calls everything, right? He calls his shot. Every time he's like, Mikey's out, he's going to kill everybody. And nobody listens.
And that's the thing. He might be such this, like, big character and so over the top, but he's the only logical one in this whole movie series franchise.
He's so incredibly logical that when he's trying to hitchhike, he actually thought those high school teens were going to give him a ride.
That was mean.
And they blew the sand right in his face.
He was like, oh, God.
And I just still don't get why he's allowed to carry a gun. Like, he's not a cop, and he tries to shoot Jamie at the end of the movie.
Oh my God, that would...
No!
Immediately, like, whips it out, and the cops are like, no, put it away.
He's like, I'm going to blast this 8-year-old in the face. But again, let's keep moving along then. So we just talked about her. Let's talk about Jamie. Yes. Danielle Harris, debut, awesome job.
What a fantastic child actress of her time.
She was pretty much, from what I saw, the castings like number one. They were scouting, I think, on the West Coast, but they did some New York auditions. And they brought her in and was like, we need you to, like, scream and cry. And then after that, we're like, yeah, that's the girl right there.
And she did great. And it's funny, I was reading online some of the little fun facts about the film, too. I guess the gentleman who played Mikey in this movie, I forgot to look at his name, or I just don't recall it for a second. But in between takes and stuff like that, because Danielle Harris was so young, he would take off his mask in between takes and let her know, like, it's just the movie, don't worry. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, that's always so nice. It's fun, like, seeing, like, child actors in horror movies like this and becoming such cult classics, and I'm like, man, if I was a kid in a horror movie, I would definitely be, like, real life afraid.
Yeah. There was a few, I think there was 2 Michael Myers in this one. There was George Wilbur.
George Wilbur is the one.
But then there was also, Tom Morga was sort of an uncredited one. He was the bandaged Michael Myers, but he's actually the only person to play Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Leatherface. Which is kind of a cool little run right there. Pretty historical run.
Yeah.
But with Danielle Harris, she just got us to feel this emotion that was really something we hadn't seen. When you're talking slashers, it's always like the teens. This, other than maybe a few small ones, Tommy Doyle a little bit in Friday, but we weren't really centering a slasher around a young child. So it was a cool little shift in storytelling, I guess it is. But I thought that was a really cool thing. But the one thing that really pissed me off was this is Laurie Strode's kid, and we just killed her off screen.
Yeah.
It was like Laurie had a kid and just died in a car accident.
That's what I didn't even know what happened to Laurie. I was like, when did Laurie have a kid? I mean, when did this happen? Had this much time already passed? Like, she must have had her right after, like this.
Yeah, I mean, there was the 10-year difference, but yeah, if she's in that 7 or 8 range, so it would happen 2 or 3 years after the massacre. Interesting. I get it. Jamie Lee Curtis's career was taking off at that point, and you don't really go back to slashers unless you're Courtney Cox and Scream's backing up the bank trucks for you. But it's just kind of, it's unfortunately looked as a downgrade for actors and actresses. So I get why she wasn't there. I mean, she comes back later on, down the road, H2O and the new trilogies. So
somehow.
We just retcon it. The Halloween franchise has so many little avenues. There's Halloween 1, Halloween 2, 4, 5, 6, the new ones, H2O, skips all the middles. It's a huge spider web of confusion. We talked about it, but the whole Nightmare Mikey was when we get our first look at the brand spanking new Michael Myers mask. It's just very bizarre.
Very goofy looking. And I thought it was pretty fucking crazy, too, because Jamie was so scared of the Nightmare Man of Mikey this whole entire time, seeing him pop up everywhere. And then she literally, there's a scene, she looks at the mask in the store and then, like, looks away and goes to look at the costumes. I'm like, you're seeing the fucking face in real life that you've been seeing in your dreams the whole time, and you're like, it's nothing.
Well, and that's the thing too is this.
I get they were trying to like sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off. They were trying to like foreshadow that being his mask that he ends up picking up, but
it is all this confusion because in the store when she's costume shopping,
Yes.
that's when we do see Mikey grab the mask and put it on, and she has this like freak out again. Is that I mean, after that point, Myers has the mask. So
Mikey was there
So
at
he
that
was
point.
there. That's no longer the dream sequences.
No.
But nobody else saw him. He just kind of went in and went out.
it's movie magic, I guess, because
Unnoticed.
he was literally, after the scene was done, looking directly in the mirror, and it seemed like everyone was like 10
Right
feet away
there.
from the mirror, so I don't know how they didn't see
Couldn't
him.
tell you. But yeah, the mask was an issue. They could not recreate the magic of the first two. And it was just... It's not a mask that they did themselves a disservice because they had him like fully lit and you could see all of it. It was so shining bright white. If you just had it dimmed down, because there are a couple scenes later on when they get to the house and the school where it doesn't look half bad because the lighting is very dark and you don't see everything. This is just like, nope, let's just crank the lights all the way up. It's just this pale white face.
Brand spanking new mask.
Barely
for
tucked
Mikey.
in. The hair's all crazy.
Disheveled.
But yeah, so let's talk about Mikey in this one because he is very different.
He is.
This is unfortunately one of the weak points in this Halloween movie, I think. Overall, I still like it, but the Michael Myers is just very, very different. Obviously, the mask is very different. In one scene, the mask, it was actually blonde. I don't know if you caught that.
Yes, I did.
Blonde Mikey. That was a screen test shot that they just
Left in.
left in. They forgot to paint that one mask and it just stayed put. The lighting, like I said, it just didn't help. And why was Michael Myers yoked out of his mind? He had so much padding on
Excuse
him.
me. He had nothing else to do in
He
the,
looked, yeah,
in the
he-
crazy house, I guess,
he
but
looked
work
like
out.
He looked like an NFL linebacker. It's like Ray Lewis put on the Michael Myers mask.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I feel like all the Mikeys are usually like pretty big.
There's some scenes where he's just like, ooh, and it's
Yeah.
like the faraway shots. You're like, it's got hockey pads on.
It's got to be the suit too. I feel like
It is. It wasn't the person. It was definitely the suit.
Yeah.
They put stuff underneath them to make him look more imposing, and it was just
You think so?
comical. Oh yeah. You'll have to look at a picture if you
I
don't
couldn't really
recall
tell
it.
that much, I guess, because I feel like all the Mikey in the original Halloween is pretty jacked up
Was
too.
bigger, but Nick Castle just put his own spin on things. But this is just a whole different level. You will notice it the next time you watch it, and you will crack up, and you'll come back and be like, "Okay, yeah, he was a little beefy right there." But I just did. He looked like the Christmas Story kid when he can't put his arms down. That's all I could think of. He's still burnt up 10 years later. He hasn't healed up at all. He's still in the
Yeah.
face bandage.
I was just gonna say the poor bastard. I mean, I get it. He's a killing, murderous man, but they didn't give him any facial surgeries. They're just letting him live with these burns on his face for 10 years.
He's just the mummy Michael Myers now.
And then, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, and then he never takes the Band-Aids off when he puts the new mask on. So I don't know if he can see through those Band-Aids pretty well, but the Band-Aids and the mask, I'm like, how's he even seeing what's going on right now?
We didn't see his face. I'd assume I don't know.
I would, yeah, maybe he took him off screen, but
I couldn't tell. But this was the thing I did like. He was a very strategic Michael Myers in this one. He took out the power of the town. He killed the whole police force. I want to assume he did it methodically.
not a lot of unnecessary kills either. Like in,
No, I mean he killed all
Other-
the cops and
well, they were in his
And,
way.
yeah,
I mean,
so,
those are
like,
big
he's
things.
strategic,
Not
yeah.
just like random kills. I should say.
he had to kill the
yeah.
guy to get his mechanic jumpsuit.
Yeah, sorry,
at the
had to be done.
Abe Lincoln Bar. He launched the worker at the power plant.
That was just
He was-
absolutely. I mean, shit, he had to shut the power down in the town. So I mean, well, I guess this guy ain't gonna let him do it.
It's like he was in the Royal Rumble, just launched him over the top rope, sent him flying.
This guy went absolutely the dummy, I guess that they used went absolutely fucking flying because it just looks so goofy. And the actual scene where he's getting shot just lasts for a good like minute and a half, I feel like, and just cuts to a bunch of different like
angles.
electrical like sparks and flying.
It was bizarre. And the one thing I really did like, there was a point where not at the very end, but towards the end when they're at the cop's house, Myers did pick up a shotgun, but he didn't shoot it. He stabbed that girl right through I think it was Katie or Kathy.
It was your Karen.
Sure, yeah.
Or whatever her name.
Something
One of
with
her
a K.
names. The girl who worked in the store with Brady. Yes.
The cop's daughter. The
yep.
absolute sleut. Kelly.
Kelly. There we go. We knew it was her with a K.
She is a Haddonfield, Illinois 10. That's for sure. But yeah, I liked that instead of shooting her, he likes stabbing.
I thought that was fun.
Fun little kill. The kills were good in this. There was a lot of...
Classic Mikey.
There was a lot of thumbs. A lot of thumb kills.
I had that on here for one of my things. You keep saying all of them before I get to talk about it.
We're going through everything. But we'll talk about the thumb kills.
That was one of my highlights that I hear was the thumb kill, because obviously we know how strong Mikey is, but that when he was in the back of the ambulance, and like the first thumb kill that he does is like takes the doctor's face and doesn't like smush his head, but just takes like his one thumb and is able to push it like all the way through his like skull and forehead. And I'm like, God, I mean, guess that fire must have gave him some like superpowers or something.
He got bulky. He beefed up. He was eating his protein. I do think that shot was added later because they wanted it to be more gory, the movie itself. But let's talk about the ending then. How did Mikey get into the back of this truck? Because they left the school. Mikey was in the school. They get in the truck and they leave.
This is one of the funniest scenes in this whole entire movie, other than one that I know you're going to talk about, because I even said when we were watching it, I was like, so you're telling me he had to keep up 3 miles, probably a good running pace to keep up with the truck, get on, or he hung on to the truck for a good 3 miles without no one noticing, makes his way from the tailgate up to the back with everyone, is able to scale the side of the truck while it's still running, with no one in the front is hearing what's going on right in the back behind them in the truck bed.
And there's like 4 guys in the back, and he like takes them out like 1 at a time, 2 at a time, and then 1. And then the last one in the back still didn't know.
And no one screams or does anything. As soon as the first guy turned around and saw Mikey, he immediately like tried to like lunge at him. And I'm like, why would you not be screaming like, here he is, right here.
Found him.
Right in front of me.
We brought him with us. I just picture Michael Myers with that shitty mask just like...
Literally.
Just sprinting after the truck.
Pretty scary to think about.
But he's in the truck. He throat rips the driver.
Yep.
And then he headbutts the glass, I think.
And it's so... And I know it's not supposed to be funny, but it didn't even look like he like... headbutted. It just looked like he kind of like stuck his face on the glass, and he did it hard enough to where it like cracked the windshield. Yeah, exactly.
But they decide to ram Michael Myers with this truck. And I didn't do it right. I'll do it right this time because if you're watching, you'll get it. If you're listening, you won't. But I'm going to use air quotes. They rammed Michael Myers with the truck, which is clearly just like a fucking scarecrow with Michael Myers' outfit on it, and they just kind of cut that into a stuntman jumping.
Sorry, I tried not to laugh too hard on the mic, but when they
The coolest shot ever.
His head and a whole body literally like folds in half, like right into them, and then they cut it really quick to make it. They're like, "Oh, it was him. Don't worry."
They they rally the troops. All the cops show up.
Yes.
And they're all just unloading shotguns on him. And if you notice in the very back, there's one guy lighting a stick of dynamite. He doesn't use it. He lights it, and then he lights it again, and then in the third cut, he has a shotgun.
And I wonder if maybe for the scene it was supposed to happen, it was supposed to get lit. He was like, damn it, I can't get this shit going. They're going to cut my scene. And then they're like, here, take this.
Oh, no. But, I mean, this is a story of lynch mobs, pretty much, which we didn't even talk about the part where the murder mob went out and shot, what's-his-face, Ted something. I forget what it was. But
they see him in the bushes. They're like, we got him. I saw him back there in the bushes. And they just light this bastard up. Poor guy.
The good old lynch mob never
The good old lynch mob. Because Loomis was like the one saying,
Ted Hollister.
You got him.
That's what it was.
Yes. And he's like, you guys got no cops right now, no men. These are your only saviors for this town, right? And look what fucking happened.
And they just go murder somebody.
Off the rip, and then they get over there and they're like, oh, man, we kind of fucked up. And they're
like,
what?
Ted.
They're like, it's Ted. And he's like, Loomis is like, son of a bitch, come on.
But it ends with Michael being shot down the mine shaft. But before that, Jamie went and held his hand, which plays a big part into this ending. Because I like the ending because at the end we see Jamie has now been essentially cursed, kind of taking over Michael Myers' demon or evil persona. It shows her at the very end, covered in blood, in her clown costume, with a pair of scissors with Loomis aiming a gun at her. No! But it was fun. It did complete that cycle of Michael Myers. I loved that ending. I don't love where they carried it into with the whole Thorn trilogy. They got a little too cutesy with it, but I thought that was a perfect ending for the movie.
I actually hated the ending.
Really? Oh,
yes,
I loved it.
Hated it.
I liked it.
Made absolutely no sense. How would she know this whole history of her uncle Michael Myers if she was born 3 years after this happened? Obviously, her mom would probably, maybe, God forbid, who knows, maybe mentioned it. But then her mom dies in a car accident when she's already younger than 7.
Well, her
so
mom
she
is
really
Laurie.
didn't get. I know her mom's
Okay,
Laurie,
yeah.
but I'm saying she didn't really get much time with her to begin with.
Well-
and like obviously, I don't know. It
Well,
just
the
doesn't
kids at
add
her
up, and it doesn't make sense to me.
The
It's
kids
like,
at her school did not let her forget that her uncle is the boogeyman.
Right, yeah, of course, shit like that. And, like, they know what happened, but, like, why does she have, like, where did she even get the old photos? Like, did Laurie, like, oh, this is the crazy-ass uncle. Here's some old pictures of him when he was a kid in the clown costume. Like, you know what? I'm fucking terrified of this guy every time I see him in my nightmares. But you know what? I'm going to dress up like him, like he was a kid for Halloween.
I don't think she just grabbed the costume, because when she was costume shopping, she's like, oh, this is perfect. It wasn't like a conscious effort at that point to
But she had already
dress like him.
She had that picture in her green, like in the little like shoebox of the picture of in the clown costume
Was it?
of
I
young
didn't see
Mikey.
that.
That's why I was like, so she just wanted to like emulate him, or
I think she was just I think it just happened to be a clown costume. I think it just ended up working out that way storyline wise. I don't think she specifically consciously picked
You
a
think
clown
so?
costume. I think it was when she touches the hand of Michael Myers, that's when the curse or the evil takes over her body. And she just happened to be Halloween night wearing a clown costume.
yeah. I just don't like the ending because they go nowhere with it, and she never becomes like the next Mikey or like anything like that. So it's just tough. It doesn't really leave off or anything.
She doesn't grow into the full-on Michael Myers monster because there's no time jump, but they do address the curse of Thorn and stuff, essentially, in those 5 and 6.
Oh, okay.
Let's get into our topics then. The good. What did you have about the good of Halloween 4?
This was definitely a fun watch. A little bit more comedic than horror, but that's okay. It did sort of give that essence of like the original Halloween and like the earlier ones that were a little bit better quality, excuse me, and a little bit better storyline base. But it did have its flaws here and there. But Dr. Loomis is hilarious. I mean, it was great. He's great acting. A lot of the other actors in this, I feel like, we're still good, but just there for like supporting roles. It's tough for me to say. I feel like we kind of talked about all the good and the stuff that we brought up.
Well, I mean, when we talked about it, we weren't saying whether it was good or bad. So
Yeah.
if you have something in particular that we talked about that's you viewed as good, this is your time to bring it up.
Mm-hmm. Well, you go ahead first because I'm going to look over my notes.
I just put Loomis is ridiculous as ever.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he's back. I love this connection that him and Mikey have, even though it is really inconceivable that he's still his doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Harris steals the show.
Yeah.
She is, a scream queen. She went on to have a pretty decent little career. I wish we had seen her in a little bit more. I wish the trilogy better represented how well she was in this role. But for this movie, she killed it. Halloween is back. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Halloween 3. At the time, it was not received well, so I can only imagine how fun that must have been, being like 10 years later, oh, Mikey's back. Like, this is cool. And I really did like the ending. I thought it was a fun, full circle. I think, obviously, we didn't end it there, but I think that could have been a good stopping point for the Halloween franchise. Quick lighting change. Our light died mid-recording, so yes.
It was
you're not
probably
going-
Mikey.
You're not going crazy. But yeah, I thought the ending was really good, and it definitely could have ended the trilogy for me. So do you have any other good from the movie? What was some of your strong points for this movie?
Yeah, I mean, Danielle Harris, like you mentioned, was really great child actress. It's fun to see her being older now and still doing like conventions and stuff, like with the Mikey and Halloween, and still being very prevalent in that. Dr. Loomis, pretty much what all you said is really the highlights that I had for the...
Okay, so then the
So,
bad. What
yeah.
did you have for the bad?
I wish we went in more into Mikey's backstory about what he'd been doing these last 10 years, unless, like we were saying, I guess they just left him bandaged up after he was burnt up and he was just maybe hanging out this whole time or working out. I wish they also kind of dove more into Laurie's death and how Jamie came about and all that kind of stuff. It did have a strong essence of, like, the original Halloween. Still one of those, like, fun Halloween night watches, but I feel like it wasn't as ominous or as suspenseful as some of the other Halloweens are, like the original.
Yeah, that's unfortunately what you lose when you lose Carpenter and Deborah Hill.
And it's funny, which I'd wanted to mention earlier too. So the full score wasn't done by John Carpenter for this one, but they did have him on to do the theme song. It credited him for the theme song, unless they just used the Halloween track and credited him.
With that track, I think you just credit him. I forget the guy's name that did the sound, but it is the person that worked with Carpenter.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
On 2 as well, and they decided to bring him back. But for the bad, I had the mask. I think that's first and foremost. There was just choices made that I don't think Michael Myers would have presented himself as. Some of his motions, his actual physical appearance, and his mask included, but his body was just off for me. The sound design was one of my bad as well, because with losing Carpenter, it seemingly was like the Walmart version of what a Halloween score is supposed to be.
It was very different, especially because in some of the scenes that were a little more like wholesome or like heartwarming, I guess, or sad, it did have those like deeper, like melodic, like sad, like chimes and bells and stuff. And I was like, this is so like different from like the dun and like big suspenseful like big bangs we would see in like the original score.
It took a lot out. Yeah. So top moment, what was your top moment of Halloween 4?
Definitely when Mikey blows up Dr. Loomis's car, because that's fucking hilarious. I thought I hadn't seen this movie in a while. I told Nick, I was like, I don't think I've seen this one. And then I was watching, I was like, yeah, I've seen this. It's just been a little bit. But he could have just stole his car.
He could have.
And drove off. But he said, nah, I'm really going to fuck with this guy.
Take the giant red
and
truck.
blow it up. And then he took
Very inconspicuous, Mikey. Yeah, my top moment, I put the Mike killing spree at the house. When he stabbed Kelly with the shotgun, he let Brady like swing on him a little bit, and then gave him the old thumb to the eye as well.
He got the old thumbs too, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then he finally got the kitchen knife back, right into the roof fight. Mikey's back. That was my top moment. Was that little ending where it was like, you know, Mike's kind of progressing his way there, but until he gets that knife, he's not fully Michael Myers. So, what would you change about Halloween 4?
I would probably. I know that you really enjoyed the ending, but I would probably change the ending a little bit. I feel like it kind of, maybe just because I'm such a fan of the original Halloween, that I really like the ending that it lent off on, and I feel like that's my favorite one of the whole franchise. And I do enjoy how each Halloween usually has different plot lines and different storylines, but this one just had too many, like, blurry spots of things that didn't add up and make sense, that maybe if they went more depth into it, I feel like that ending would have been a little bit better. Like, if she knew about this, if Jamie knew about Michael and wanted to like avenge her mom and like yada 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 and all this kind of stuff, but it just made it seem like she was just a crazy kid all of a sudden and just wanted to start killing people after she saw her uncle that she was traumatized by.
She touched him. The curse.
Oh, is that what they're supposed to... And see, and then it starts getting... They should have never added a paranormal aspect to this. It absolutely made no fucking sense.
That was Carpenter's original idea. I don't think this in particular, but he wanted it to be more of a psychological thing. But
and I do love psychological thrillers, but I'm very glad the direction that Mr. Carpenter took.
Yeah. Gotta change his mask and his look and his presence.
I didn't hate the mask.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
It's very goofy looking.
But
I feel like this whole movie is pretty goofy. So
it is, but it's not supposed to be.
Do you know how much it's not supposed to be? And do you know how much the budget was for this?
No.
$5 million.
Makes sense. It's the
you would
fourth iteration. It came out looking a lot like it.
No, I was just going to say, you wouldn't think it'd be actually $5 million. I was like, it could have been a little more with.
Yeah, I would have added more Loomis. He seemingly comes and goes. I feel like there's big chunks where it's like Loomis, no Loomis.
Yes.
Loomis, no Loomis. I would have kept him a little bit more straight through.
Yeah.
And who would you suggest Halloween 4 to? And I feel like this is an easy one, but...
For anyone who's a fan of slashers and of the Halloween franchise and likes watching all the different iterations and different variants of the one and only Michael Myers.
Yeah. So I can't top that. That's pretty much exactly what all it is. So let's get to our fear and beer rating. Our fear rating, a 1 through 5 of how scary this film was, and a beer rating, 1 through 5 of how much you enjoyed this movie. So what is your fear rating for Halloween 4?
My fear rating, I gave this a 2.5.
I put a 2.5 as well.
Did you as well? I feel like that's a very good median for this one.
Right in the middle.
Still had some good kills. Not as scary, per se, But still that slasher horror that we all know and love with some bloody goodness.
A little bit more gore
Yes.
than usual. So then your beer rating. What did you give your beer rating for Halloween 4?
I gave this one a 3 for my beer rating for Halloween 4.
I gave it a 4.
Did you really?
I like this one. I
Wow.
really do like this one.
Wow.
5 and 6 get a little off the rails, but this is up there for me in the franchise. I mean, I don't really count 3.
5 is The Curse of Michael Myers, right?
It's
I think so. I
Yeah.
enjoy that one.
there's the revenge and then there's the curse. I think it is, but yeah, I do like this one. I think it plays I think it sets up something I'm not a huge fan of, but this one I really do like as sort of a standalone. So that's all that we have for Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. Next week, we will be continuing our halfway to Halloween month, and we will be going into the house's October built.
Really excited to discuss this one.
Another classic Halloween style vibe.
Found footage.
Yep. And we will see you soon.